interest of the employees?
Has what been done in the best interest of the
This
employees?
transaction, the best interest of the FNN employees?
Yes, I think both Mr. Tesler and myself feel that this is in the best interest, given the conditions and circumstances that we found FNN in at the time of coming to the company. I think this permitted the company to survive, and it gave the employees an opportunity to keep working. And we hope in the acquisition by CNBC, many of those employees will continue to work.
I think what we have to do here is, cut this off because we're running out of time. We've got to go back uptown. But I tell you one thing, relative to employees, creditors, stockholders, all of these different constituencies we tried to protect, we didn't have a lot of alternatives. And we're doing this in a bankruptcy court, which in and of itself tells you about the problems that we had. So I think we did the best under the circumstances that we had. I thank you very much.
Thank you.
You see at 440, sir?
Yep.
Alan, you want to do you ready to do a Q&A?
All right, you have been watching a live press briefing conducted by Alan Hirschfield and Alan Tesler, co-executive chairman of the Financial News Network. And as we go to the current headlines, we can update you on the story. A bankruptcy court judge in New York today approved the sale of the Financial News Network to CNBC, its only competitor, for $115 million. But the sale is subject to regulatory approval by the Federal Trade Commission, which has launched an antitrust investigation into CNBC's planned acquisition. Well, CNBC's $115 million offer matched a bid by Dow Jones and Company and Group W Satellite Communications. The bankruptcy judge approved CNBC's bid after Dow Jones and Group W Satellite Communications refused to agree to terms of the bankruptcy court judge. Shares of FNN today are trading down 4/16 at 7/16. General Electric, the parent company of CNBC, is trading up 3/8 at $72.50 a share, while Dow Jones and Company stock is up a quarter at 25 3/8, and Westinghouse, the parent of Group W, is up a quarter at 29 3/4.
Infighting among members of the Federal Open Market Committee could inhibit further Fed easing, at least in the opinion of one Fed watcher. The Johnson-Smith International report says it is unlikely the Fed will ease in response to a weak March employment report. But
filing, we go live to the courtroom, outside the courtroom in New York to find out the very latest. Our FNN correspondent Alan Chernoff is standing by. Alan, what do you have for us?
Well, Randall, it is all over right now. All the executives have walked out of the courtroom here. The cameras have asked them a few questions. And Tom Rogers, the head of NBC Cable, said to us that we wanted the property very much. I asked him, why did you raise your bid from $105 million to $115 million? They did not necessarily have to raise their bid, but they did during the proceedings. And he said, well, we wanted this property very much. In addition, Alan Tesler, the co-chief executive of FNN, said that we did the best we could under the circumstances. Alan Hirschfeld, the other chief executive, said that what we did will allow the company to survive. That's not accurate. CNBC intends to shut down FNN. They made that very clear, and they intend to do it by the end of the month. The only problem they confront right now is the Federal Trade Commission, and the FTC does have until April 19th to decide whether it will try to file an injunction and block this deal. If the FTC does not, the deal will go ahead without any problem. Randall?
Alan, this couldn't have come as a complete surprise to the group led by Dow Jones and Group W. They say that he who fights and runs away lives to fight another day. Do they have something up their sleeve?
I wouldn't say they have anything up their sleeve. They are just trying to make sure they do not overpay for FNN. That appears to be their number one priority, because in the courtroom, they simply were not willing to allow their bid to be extended until the end of May. They wanted their bid of $115 million to expire at midnight tonight because of the idea that the FTC perhaps might block a CNBC purchase of FNN. So Dow Jones and Group W are basically sitting back. If the FTC does block the CNBC purchase, they could then step in, and they would hope to step in with a much lower bid, perhaps a bid of $90 million, which was initially what they had agreed to buy FNN at.
Alan, have you heard any more speculation that Group W Dow may try and launch some sort of competing channel of their own? I understand there's been talk outside the courtroom of that again today.
Well, actually, they have looked into this. Initially they had said that they would plan to, or they were very serious about trying to start a new network if they failed in buying FNN. However, yesterday I spoke to Peter Skinner, the senior vice president at Dow Jones, and he told me they have looked into this. They've spoken with the cable operators, and the simple fact is right now it is so difficult to begin a new cable network that they do not intend to go ahead with it. It's very unlikely that Dow Jones will try to start a competing business news station with CNBC.
Alan, thank you for the update. That is FNN correspondent Alan Chernoff joining us from the bankruptcy proceedings there in New York for the Financial News Network. We will go to a short break, then back in just a moment to update you on the current numbers on Wall Street.
Stay with us.
Tax tip number 3. Can you take an earned income credit if your children lived with you last year? Yes, you can, if you meet certain requirements.
This tax tip has been brought to you by H&R Block.
Tip number 4. What can you take if your children live with you and they formed a rock band? This for your headache.
This tip has been brought to you by aspirin-free Excedrin, extra strength medicine for extra strength relief.
Sweeping views, late night blues, stirring sound, paradise found, Bermuda, a short trip to the perfect holiday.
You can count on me. You know that, don't you?
I was figuring I could.
Well, you cleaned this town up. You made it fit for women and kids to live in. Millen and nobody else will ever drag it down again.
I was hoping people would feel that way.
What other way is there? How many men you got lined up?
None yet.
Well, you better get going, man.
Just a reminder, when you think duplication, think meter copiers. Call 1-800-ABC-METER.
Every business morning, while the rest of the world is getting up, UPS is guaranteeing overnight delivery before 10:30 for far less than other companies charge. And every business morning, more people are waking up to that fact.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Each market day, watch FNN's Market Wheel. Get the top business headlines every half hour. Market analysis and commentary at 10 after. Check out Street Talk on stocks in the news at 15 and 45. Tune in for futures updates and business tips at 20 and 50 past each hour. And at 40 past, don't miss the FNN Insiders. All the business news you need on the Market Wheel. Weekdays from 8:30 to 4 Eastern, only on FNN.
Wall Street exhibits a firm undertone. The Dow Industrial's up more than 5, the broad market even stronger.
We've seen some sell programs earlier after the market moved to an early 11-point gain, extending that 64-point rally we saw in yesterday's session. Stocks erased those gains. We're turning higher again here, with the Dow Jones average currently up 5.5 points at 2950. The transportation average ahead 7.75 points, with the transportation average and the Financial News Composite Index both getting helped out today by strength in Delta Airlines. The utilities average, meanwhile, is up 0.12. The S&P 500 up 1.75 points, while the futures contract is ahead 1.90 for a premium near fair value, a premium of 2.66. The fair value is seen at 2.5. Big board index up just over a point, with volume on the New York Stock Exchange, 126.8 million shares. Advancing issues over declining issues 9 to 5. The up volume continues to point to a positive breath, up with up volume at 80.4 million shares and the down volume of 31.5 million. June Treasury bills down 3 basis points, while the June Treasury bond contract down just a tick at 95 and 17/32. The dollar index is up 0.20, while the CRB index is fractionally lower. Liba?
The breadth of the market is exhibited in strength in the broad market averages. The Amex index, however, is the only one that has not yet made a new historic high. Its intraday high in the 1989 rally was around the 393 level. But all the other broad market averages are now trading in new all-time high ground. Nasdaq volume 98.57 million shares. The energy complex has come under some pressure today. In the case of crude oil, a big build reported in inventories by the API last night put the initial downside pressure on crude. It is trading essentially between 19.20, which is support on the bottom, and 20.10, which has resistance on the upside, and that range has confined prices for the last 2 weeks. In the energy group, Arco and Exxon down 5.8.
Suddenly, there's a new member of that select class of automobiles known as Grand Touring sedans. Powered by a turbocharged intercooled engine, richly upholstered in leather and uniquely styled. But what's most distinctive about this Grand Touring sedan is it's also a Volvo. Introducing the Volvo 940 SE. We've changed the car, but not the philosophy.
In these uncertain times, the intelligent investor...
The company that created overnight shipping now gives you 2 ways to ship it overnight. Introducing an afternoon delivery service from Federal Express at a price that'll lift your spirits. It's a whole new dawn in overnight shipping. Federal Express, absolutely positively the best in the business twice a day.
There are some people in the world you do not want to depend on. Unfortunately, we lean on other countries for over 40% of the oil that America consumes. But the more we use nuclear energy instead of imported oil to generate our electricity, the less we have to depend on unstable sources.
Welcome back to the Midday Market Report with the Dow ahead 8.5 points. Without further ado, let's move to Joe Granville, the Granville Market Letter for a Street Talk interview. Joe, good afternoon.
Good to be back with you, Randall. Now, seeing that these could be the last days of Pompeii for FNN, I certainly am glad to have this opportunity to come on again today.
Welcome. Good to have you with us. Right now, the Dow ahead 9 points. Your outlook for stocks. You expected the market to move sharply higher. It has. Where do we go from here?
Well, as I told you last week, we had approximately 640 big board stocks. Now, that counts the preferreds within a point or less of new 52-week highs. Now, I can happily report that we are now up to approximately 700 big board stocks within a point or less of new 52-week highs. Thus, it is needless to worry about the 205 highs of February 11th. That number is about to be far exceeded, thus destroying another argument used by the bears that has absolutely no technical validity. Another invalid technical argument is the head and shoulders top formation. Anybody doing their homework can easily prove that the right shoulder is far, far stronger than the left shoulder. And the neckline at Dow 2850 was already successfully tested on March 22nd. Some commentators tell us that everybody is already in this market. Now, that is ridiculous. How would they explain away the record amount of money right now parked in the money market funds? No, this market has much further to go on the upside, and I would contemplate no serious sell signals prior to this summer. On this program, I've consistently pushed the banks and brokerage house stocks as the best bets. I had to take a lot of heat and criticism for recommending them right near their lows in December. But now it is fashionable to recommend these stocks. I like to buy stocks when it is not fashionable to do so. So therefore, I'm scrounging through the NASDAQ and other low-price stocks where we're finding the greatest bargains at this time. So that's the place to be. And it explains your question earlier about the NASDAQ after a 29% rise. Where are the bargains? Well, you have to buy the $1, $2, $3, and $4 stocks that are just now breaking out from massive base patterns. And there you have it.
Joe, give us a name or two.
Okay, there's so many of them. All right, American Shipbuilding, L-Fint, Cooper Companies, GRC International, Arrow Electronics, and I go on and on.
All right.
Track the major exchange tickers. In very little time and for a lot less money, FNN Market Watch can give you a lot more of both. So call 1-800-777-3334 now to order FNN Market Watch. That's 1-800-777-3334.
During the course of trading, we bring you a variety of respected opinions on the stock and bond markets. We are joined now by Craig Corcoran of Davis Weig Futures in Jacksonville, Florida. Nice to have you with us, Craig.
Thank you, Leva. Appreciate it.
I don't know if you were able to hear Joe Granville's report a few moments ago. He denies the formation that many others have identified as a head and shoulders in the Dow Jones. How do you read the patterns?
Yeah, Leva, for short to intermediate term traders, there are a few bearish market patterns that will yield the quick bullish reversals like in a...
At Saddam Hussein. Rah-rah, a damn Yankees spokesman.
Market surprises like...
In arena again, coming this time from the wheat market. The rainfall over the weekend in the plains was not nearly as heavy as had been forecast, not enough to reverse the dryness conditions there, and fund buying in wheat has spilled over into the other grain markets as well. Moreover, farmers are likely to be returning to their fields as early as this weekend. The cash movement may slow, lending further support to the markets. Here now is an update of the latest price quotations across the boards.
Know our assignment and go out and do it with some aggressiveness.
Why is it that some people constantly manage to reach heights others can only dream of? A few towns in western Pennsylvania have produced more football legends than any other place.
We play with poison.
Dan Marino,
We know that at the end of this
Johnny Unitas, George Blanda. What is it about these towns that gives birth to such greatness? Fierce pride, tradition, an obsession with excellence? The very things that drive us at Ford Motor Company. When leadership is in your blood, you push yourself to greater and greater heights. Our 1991 four-door Explorer and Escort have recorded the highest customer satisfaction ratings in our history. And starting right now, you'll be seeing more new models and exciting innovation from Ford and Lincoln Mercury than you've seen in years. America fell in love with Ford in the 80s, and we're going to be even tougher to beat in the 90s. Ford Motor Company.
Bonds remain a little weaker while stocks a little higher. The Dow Jones average off trading up 5.5 points. That will do it for the midday market report. Market Watch PM gets underway in 32 minutes. And Lebo, we'll see you on Shop Talk.
Please join us. Ed Hart and Albert Sindlinger will be with me. We hope you'll join our conversation.
Have a good afternoon.
Financial News Network. You have no business watching anything else.
The last word on today's business, tonight at 9 Eastern.
The Air Force's Blue Book has long been the subject of debate. How many UFO sightings are real? That debate may simmer on for years, but the UFO we'll show you is for real. And how about targeting in the Gulf War? Think it's easy to see the enemy in the desert? Not so.
Some people drive miles out of their way to buy what they think is the best dog or cat food. When the fact is, this is all you have to drive. Because you don't have to go further than your supermarket for high-quality nutrition. Just stop at the Purina One Pet Nutrition Center. You'll find a whole new line of Purina One brand dog and cat foods for every stage of your pet's life. To me, there's nothing better than Purina One.
Purina One, second to none. Now for your dog and cat.
You heard about Laura and Steve? Divorce? Worse, they moved. Bad? How about the van showing up a day late? Depressing. Or finding your crystal vase in 3 pieces? No.
They should have called United Van Lines. United moved us from London to Minneapolis. Piece of cake. Only thing they didn't do was cook dinner.
I hear you.
But neither did I.
No surprises, no loose ends. No wonder people recommend United more than any mover in America. United Van Lines. We're #1 for a reason.
Financial News Network. You have no business watching anything else.
A full commission futures broker ought to make a nice living. But with your money? Look at these price differences. An S&P 500 round turn at Merrill Lynch, $100. At Payne Weber, $90. At Lind Waldock, $32. Are you getting $60 worth of hand-holding every time you place an order? This time, call Lind Waldock, the nation's largest futures discount firm. Announcing an all-new lineup of futures and options advisory hotlines, exclusively for Lind Waldock traders. Our free evening analysis gives the who, what, and why behind each day's trading. We also offer 2 advisories that give specific recommendations on the most widely traded futures and options. New customers receive free trials of both. Call us now to see how you can become a Lind Waldock trader and get our exclusive advisory hotlines.
Call toll-free 1-800-445-2000.
Experience the power tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
And welcome to Market Watch PM. I'm Richard Saxton along with Gary Salem.
The Dow, other key markets marking time right now, but the transport's up about 7 points in the S&P futures in new all-time high territory.
Time now to take a look at the latest business news. German bankers say they're even more worried now about the Soviet Union's ability to service its debt following the release of new budget figures. Moscow says its first quarter budget deficit has already soared past levels planned for the full year. And high-ranking Soviet officials warn it may be impossible in the second quarter to finance investment and fund the army and other state programs. As a result, an official at a German bank who didn't want to be identified called the situation in the Soviet Union very serious. He says in terms of foreign debt risks, the Soviet Union is currently the worst case, and there won't be any improvement in that situation this year.
Some oil industry experts are now forecasting a nationwide gasoline price war this summer as major oil firms move to lure millions of vacationers back to the pumps. Several oil companies have already announced plans to resume advertisements or advertisements that were suspended during the Gulf War. But some experts believe the battles may be limited to key markets such as California, Texas, and Florida, where competition is said to be pretty fierce. Chevron fired the first shot in the price war when it eliminated the premium it formerly charged credit card customers. Exxon responded to Chevron's move by slashing cash and credit prices. Industry officials say the price war should be good news for motorists, but may spell trouble for smaller independent dealers. Meantime, the latest weekly report from the American Petroleum Institute shows an unexpectedly large buildup of over 6 million barrels in crude stocks. Oil analyst Jim Steele also notes that gasoline reserves are down a surprising 1/2 million barrels.
And the market was expecting a drawdown in gasoline of 1 to 1.5 million, so it will be a little surprise there. Another interesting factor is that although gasoline is only down 500,000, despite the fact that refinery runs have been cut again, and they're well below 82% right now.
Currently, May crude futures down 7 cents at $19.63 a barrel.
Shearson Lehman analyst David Reederman reiterated his buy rating on software giant Microsoft on expectations for high-performance software linked to a workstation consortium to be unveiled next week. Microsoft and Silicon Graphics late Tuesday announced that Microsoft agreed to license Silicon Graphics high-end computer graphics. Microsoft stock is currently trading up 2 1/4 at 114 1/4. Silicon Graphics is down 3 3/4 at 38 3/4. But Silicon Graphics' story is more than their deal with Microsoft. They are also forecasting lower earnings for the upcoming quarter.
When we return following a short pause, we'll take a look at market activity, as slow as it may be for most stocks and stock indices today. And we'll hear from FNN insider Bob Metz.
Back shortly. Stay tuned.
Your attention, please. The 631 will be delayed.
Get some coffee?
No. This gives me a chance to call my broker.
Now?
Sure.
My broker's never in this early.
You have to keep to his schedule?
Trading decisions happen round the clock. That's why so many active investors choose Fidelity Brokerage Services. Fidelity has experienced brokers available 24 hours a day to place your trades. Plus, you'll save as much as 76% on stock and option commissions. Call this number now for your free Fidelity Brokerage Fact Kit.
That's right, 500 shares at the market price at the open. Great. A couple more things I want to cover.
And find out about Fidelity's fast on-time performance nationwide with significant savings. For your free Fact Kit, call Fidelity Brokerage Services at 1-800-624-6700, a Fidelity Investments company.
Call now and you can have 13 weeks of the Wall Street Journal and this valuable 120-page guide to understanding money and markets. That's 13 weeks of the Journal for the news and ideas you need every business day. And this guide free, which tells you everything you want to know about money and markets, all for only $37, a 24% savings off the newsstand price. Call now, toll-free, 800-638-4300. That's 800-638-4300 for today's Wall Street Journal.
Pick up line 2. I need that file now. Line 4. Find the blueprint. Where's the architect? Sell! Sell! Buy! Short the market!
The power to put it all behind you. To kiss all the stress, all the stomach-churning headaches of business goodbye. That's the power of United. That's the power of the friendly skies.
Every business day, count on FNN's own chief market analyst to make sense of the latest financial news.
This is the time to start thinking about buying musicians. The time to think about selling them is long gone.
For insight on the ups and downs of Wall Street, count on John Bollinger, chief market analyst, weekdays at 3:45 p.m. Eastern, only on Financial News Network.
Portions of the following program are brought to you by Gold MasterCard, the best gold card to master the moment.
Volume pretty heavy for this time of day, but action is limited, at least in terms of the response for the Dow, down about 5 points.
And the broader market measures continue to outperform the blue chip indicator. Standard & Poor's 500, as well as the New York Composite and OTC indices yesterday hitting record highs, and they are in record high territory again today. The Dow down 5.5 points. It looks like oil and oil-related stocks are being hit today. We have Exxon down $1, Chevron down 3/4, two of the oil components in the Dow 30. Kodak is down 7/8 of a point. United Technologies up 3/4. Transportation average up about 6. Delta Airlines up 2.5. UAL and AMR both up 3/4. Utility average down 1/4. The Fancy up nearly 5. In that group, Delta, of course, Dow Chemical up 1 1/4, Digital Equipment up $1, helping out the Fancy, while Schlumberger is down 7/8. S&P 500 cash is up 0.91. The rally continues. June futures up 2/3 of a point. and the premium at 224, just below Art Cashin's 250 fair value. The NYSE index up 2/3 of a point. There's the volume Gary was talking about, 147.8 million shares. Had about 189 million yesterday, but most of that came in the late going on the rally that created that 63-point jump in the Dow. Breadth in the market, 9 to 5, advances over declines. The up volume about double the down volume, 86 million compared to 43 million. Treasury bills and bonds both lower. The dollar is slightly higher in the CRB index, which has rallied of late, going sideways today, Gary.
Now let's catch you up with the broader market indices, up over 2 points for the Amex index on more than 12 million shares. Pardon me. National Market Systems Composite Index rising nearly 2 on 117.3 million shares. That, we can safely say, is more like it. May crude down just slightly on the session, off its bottom of the day. This is based on some negative American Petroleum Institute data that we mentioned to you at the headline section of this program. Oil index is down nearly 1.5 points, up 230 on the day for April gold, and some short covering for all of the metals, earlier led by silver, but silver is still trying to test support at $4. Gold index is up over a point now at 87.80. Up next, FNN insider Robert Metz joining us from our studios in New York. Good afternoon, Bob.
Warren Buffett is unlike most investors. Most try to hide their setbacks. Chairman Buffett lays it on the line in Berkshire Hathaway's annual report. Buffett put $350 million in U.S. Air Group convertible preferred shares. That investment is now worth substantially less, as he admits. He adds in some irony that his timing was exquisite, doing the deal at the exact moment when the business experienced severe problems. No one pushed me, he adds. Problems in the industry were compounded by post-merger difficulties when U.S. Air began integrating Piedmont. But that problem is solved. The combined airline gets excellent marks for service. It is the industry-wide problems that have proved to be far more serious. Buffett says the problems have been magnified by price cutting. This illustrates an important truth, says Buffett. If you sell a commodity kind of product, it's impossible to be a whole lot smarter than your dumbest competitor. So what is the future for U.S. Air Group? Well, Buffett says the investment should work out unless the industry is decimated during the next few years. But he adds, quote, even so, our investment is now less secure than at the time I made it. I'm Robert Metz with Street News.
And we'll be back with Street Talk. A.J. Jack Frost to join us and give us his Elliott Wave interpretation.
And later this half hour, computers in the market with John Bollinger.
In the challenging world of investments, the independent player needs a competitive edge. That edge is AccuTrade, an exciting innovation that lets you buy or sell stocks for just 3 cents a share commission. AccuTrade from First National Brokerage Services lets the independent investor make trades with a touch-tone phone while paying only 3 cents a share commission. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're linked to AccuTrade Computer Central. Simply key in your trades at just 3 cents a share commission.
Call this 800 number to find out how to tap into AccuTrade. It's simple, fast, accurate, and at only 3 cents a share commission, you put more money into your investments.
This is the number to call, 1-800-982-0800. Find out how AccuTrade can give you that competitive edge and significantly add to your successful investing. AccuTrade, a revolutionary breakthrough from First National Brokerage Services.
The Turbo Wagon by Volvo. Think of it as a sports car with extra pickup. The 940 Wagon by Volvo. Think of it as a limousine for your luggage.
Call now and you can have 13 weeks of the Wall Street Journal and this valuable 120-page guide to understanding money and markets. That's 13 weeks of the journal for the news and ideas you need every business day. And this guide free, which tells you everything you want to know about money and markets, all for only $37, a 24% savings off the newsstand price. Call now, toll-free, 800-638-4300. That's 800-638-4300 for today's Wall Street Journal.
Bond futures down slightly. The Johnson-Smith Medley report apparently saying the Fed won't ease on Friday no matter what the employment numbers bring us. We'll look now at some of the stocks making the news. General Motors EDS component is up $1 at 46, as that is Merrill Lynch's focus stock of the week. General Motors Class E, or EDS. Microsoft up 2 at 114.25. You heard the story in our headlines. Shearson and also Bear Stearns reiterating buy recommendations as Microsoft will benefit from a licensing deal for some silicon graphics. Texas Instruments is up 2 at 42.25 today. They've announced a joint development of some high technology solar energy deal with Southern Cal Edison, or SCE Corp. So they'll try and turn sun power into energy on a very sophisticated level. Monsanto up 5/8 at 58.5. The analyst Dean Witter Reynolds raising estimates on that stock. Joining us now, as he does each week at this time, is A.J. Jack Frost of Victoria, British Columbia, co-author of the 1978 book, The Elliott Wave Principle, which he wrote with Robert Prechter. And many follow the Elliott Wave Principle because of the book that Jack wrote and popularized the theory. However, you've been bearish for some time, even during this more than 600-point rally to near record levels, at least for the Dow, Jack. What do you see from here?
Well, it's true I've been bearish, but what happened, I didn't really expect it to happen, is that the Fed has been pumping more and more and more money into the economy, hoping to stimulate the economy, but it's actually simply stimulated the stock market. So the stock market has been in a speculative blow-off, and I think we're in a top area. And all we can expect now is a nosedive down. The U.S. dollar has also been rising, but the U.S. dollar is weakening the U.S. competitive position because what happens, it makes the United States a good country to sell to and a very poor country to buy from. So we're in a very, very desperate situation. And I don't think this situation is going to last very long, and I still hold to my position that we can expect about a 1,000-point drop.
Well, just as we speak about the crumbling financial situation, Trump Plaza Funding says it may be forced to file Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And, of course, you and I know that Donald Trump was once looked up to as one of the great financiers. But how quickly things change, huh?
It's remarkable.
What do you see for gold?
Gold has been a little disappointing. But gold has completed a pattern, and my feeling is that come May, June, July, August, gold is going to take a very substantial move up. And I think the outlook for gold is very positive and will remain positive for years to come.
You're in your 83rd year here. Do you recommend, or 84th year, I guess, you're 83 years old. Do you recommend people short here or buy puts? How would you play this expected down move that you're looking towards just on your past investment experience and philosophy?
Well, I would buy gold, gold bullion, gold stocks, and I would also buy good quality bonds, but I would avoid the stock market except for gold.
Okay, Jack, as always, thanks for joining us. We look forward to another conversation next week. A.J. Jack Frost of the Elliott Wave Principle. Time now to take a look at some of the active issues at the New York Stock Exchange. RJR Nabisco up 0.5. Citicorp up 3/4, as is Chase Manhattan up 3/4. Kidder Peabody recommended Chemical Bank today. There might be some spillover as bank stocks regain some popularity here. Philip Morris down 1/4. American Express unchanged at 29 5/8. That has been a good performing Dow 30 component. There's Silicon Graphics down 3 3/4, seeing their third quarter well below the second quarter 49-cent report. And Compaq Computer to take a 13% stake. And as we mentioned, they'll be licensing some graphics to Microsoft. IBM is up 1/8. Beverly Enterprises up 5/8. Digital up 7/8 of a point. GE up 1/8. We know the news there. Their CNBC subsidiary will be buying FNN. Amdahl is up 3/8 of a point. Hillhaven unchanged. Energy Service up 1/8. Echo Bay Mines up 1/4. Diasonics down 5/8. OTC actives. Oracle Systems up 1/2. Seagate Technology up 50 cents as well. Legion Corporation down 3 3/4. Their second quarter earnings to be reduced by about 10 cents from the 45 to 50 cent estimates that were on the street. Sun Micro down 1/4. Amatron is up 3/8 at 2 3/4.
Up next, John Bollinger, alias Computer Man.
I'm Bill O'Neill, founder of Investors Daily. For the last 30 years, I've helped individuals, businesses, and large corporations make smart investment decisions. Now I'm willing to make an investment in you. I'm so convinced that if you read Investors Daily, you'll want to subscribe. I'll send you 2 weeks of the paper for free. Why am I so sure? Because Investors Daily has features you won't find in the Wall Street Journal or Barron's. Stock tables that show you each company's earnings growth, relative price performance, industry strength, and percentage change in volume. 90 graphic displays of the strongest companies. Mutual fund listings that show every fund's performance record. This information can save you time and money, and you won't find it anywhere else. So take advantage of my offer and call Investors Daily now for your free 2-week subscription.
If you call now, Investors Daily will send you a free 2-week subscription. You'll also receive a free audio tape, a guide to Investors Daily. Call now, 1-800-767-1300. That's 1-800-767-1300.
Dan Larson knows a secluded course where the holes are challenging, but the fees aren't. Now, where do you suppose he'd rent a car? Budget, where every rental passes 25 quality checks and price is not a handicap. The smart money is on budget. Now you can rent a Lincoln for $199 a week with unlimited mileage. The smart money is on budget.
Iowa, the smart state for business. Make a smart move to Iowa.
Are you looking for an online quote service that's both powerful and easy to learn and use? Then you're looking for FNN Market Watch. With just the touch of a button, you can get current quotes instantly, review your portfolios, and track the major exchange tickers. In very little time and for a lot less money, FNN Market Watch can give you a lot more of both. So call 1-800-367-4670 now to order FNN Market Watch. That's 1-800-367-4670.
I suppose I should tell you that we're going to have to pin up on our bulletin board a little notice that this very well could turn out to be the last computers in the market segment. So we're going to turn to John Bollinger right now and perhaps appropriately so discuss computer bulletin boards.
Well, you know, last week we talked about a command processor replacement and a way of enhancing DOS. And that program was shareware. It's the kind of thing that you can download on your computer from another computer and try it out for a while, see if you like it. Well, one of the places that you can do that from is the Market Technicians Association's bulletin board system, which is called the Stock Exchange Bulletin Board System. Now, we have a slide here with the phone number of this bulletin board. Now, mind you, this is a computer phone number, not a voice number. If you call up, this thing's going to shriek in your ear. So if you have a computer with a modem in it, it has to be at least as fast as 1200 baud, and you can call up with a communications program, log on, give your name and address and such like that, and they will allow you to participate in this bulletin board. You can exchange programs with other people. You can meet other like-minded investors, people who are interested in using computers in the market. And frankly, in a world where there's going to be no more computers in the market, the bulletin board system is a fantastic place to find out what the latest is in terms of programs that are available, who has what data available. There's a data conference available on this bulletin board where people trade data back and forth. Somebody has, you know, the tea leaves from 1911 through 1982, and you have certain other kind of tea leaves for that period. You can meet and exchange them electronically. Lots of demonstration programs show you what the software is out there. I should say it's run by a very nice fellow by the name of Kurt Kyle, based in out in Des Moines, Iowa.
Is it the only billboard of its type? Or
No, there are many more of them, and one of the things that you can get when you're on the bulletin board is a list of many of them. In fact, some of them are interlinked via a network. They pass messages back and forth at night. So if you put up a message on this system, it in fact will be spread out to many other systems around the country. If somebody on another system replies, then a day later that message will come back to this system. So you not only end up talking to the subset of people who deal with the just this bulletin board, but with a much bigger universe of people who deal with other financial bulletin boards around the country. So there's quite a it's quite a large integrated system, actually.
John, it's been fun doing Computers in the Market. We'll miss you on this particular segment, but we know, and I should remind you viewers, that John, of course, will be back at his regular time on Market Wrap later on today. That's after 4 p.m. Eastern Time with Bill Griffith. When I come back following a short pause and a word from Richard, I'll bring you up to date on futures activity.
Thanks, Gary. I know John's a surfer, so he might appreciate the new wave in car technology on our Business Week editors.
Gasoline prices have settled back nicely. Americans will soon be tootling off to their summer vacations again. But in a Business Week cover story, Thane Peterson tells us the road will never be the same again, or more accurately, Thane, the car.
No, I think the car is going to change dramatically in the next dozen years or so. I think we're going to see a lot of electric start to be used by commuters, and natural gas used in inner cities to cut down on air pollution.
Thane, there's been talk of the electric car and the natural gas car for decades, you might say. It really hasn't happened. It's just another empty threat.
We think, our judgment is that it will happen this time, at least slowly, between now and the year 2005. Of course, General Motors said in the mid-'70s that it would be producing 10% electric cars by now, and it isn't producing any. So.
Well, something is forcing their hand this time, namely the Clean Air Act, for one.
Yeah, the Clean Air Act and particularly legislation in the state of California, where a big chunk of the car market is, that says they're going to have to produce electric cars starting in 1998, all the car makers.
Of course, Detroit is not terribly enthusiastic about this. They were not the first time around, but kicking and screaming, they were dragged into the age of better mileage for gasoline, even though they didn't look for it.
Yeah. Surprisingly, the car makers aren't putting up that big a squawk about alternative fuels. They're still squawking about having to raise the mileage a lot, but for gasoline cars. But alternatives seem to be well on the way.
All right, you and I might not buy that electric car, not the first one, we may, but who will be buying that?
I think the people who are going to be interested are people like commuters in Los Angeles who can use an electric like GM's Impact to go to work quite conveniently.
Just 10 or 20 miles. Okay, thanks, Thane Peterson, for joining us. I'm Paul Ehrlich in New York.
Right now, bond futures continue lower in advance of Friday's March unemployment and employment statistics. The hope, of course, is for the Fed to lower interest rates if the economic report turns out to be weaker than forecast. However, the Fed reportedly will not move to lower interest rates unless it sees a very weak report. As for the dollar, it's finally turning a bit higher, but generally described as sideways range trading activity today. Dealers await potential interest rate changes both in the U.S. potentially and possibly to the upside in Germany come this Thursday when the Bundesbank Council meets. The U.S. could ease rates in a weak set of employment figures, as we've suggested. Generally could raise rates Thursday. Germany could raise rates Thursday to stem rising inflation, and also perhaps in a move to strengthen the Deutschmark. Right now, the dollar is down 1/4 yen. The yen being prompted by some cross reversal, which is pushing down the Deutschmark. It's up, dollar is up 1/4 Pfennig, up 1/4 centime, and sterling is down a half penny at 177.15.
Investors, let Value Line help you pinpoint stocks that could score big price gains. We'll rush you as a bonus our new ranks of 1,700 stocks for price performance in the next 12 months. We expect the 100 top-ranked stocks to outperform all the rest, but avoid the 400 lowest. Value Line has ranked stocks this way for 25 years with these powerful results. And here's a second great bonus, Value Line's current full-page reports on 1,700 stocks, each with up to 15 years of statistics, fully indexed for you in this giant reference set. Your reference will be constantly updated with more than 100 new stock reports sent to you each week.
To get this reference set and new performance ranks as instant bonuses, try Value Line for 10 weeks for only $65.
Call 800-472-7753. Call today and also receive Value Line's step-by-step practical guide to better investing. 800-472-7753. Call now.
About 2 hours of trading remain, and if things go today like they did yesterday, where we saw a rally in the late going, could be interesting. I would stick around if I were you and keep an eye on the markets. The Dow's now positive, very slightly, but good volume today.
Up next on Shop Talk, Liba Geft at the helm. Her guests on board, Albert Singlinger and Ed Hart.
Financial News Network. You have no business watching anything else.
Hi, I'm John Butler, President of the Financial Funds. Do you know that more than 40% of American taxpayers are still eligible to deduct their annual IRA contributions? You may be one of the many investors who are not taking advantage of this opportunity. Taxpayers who can't deduct their contributions still can defer taxes on their IRA income and capital gain to help make their retirement nest egg grow. Even with today's so-called modest inflation rates, you can't have too much money set aside for retirement. For example, at a mere 4% rate of inflation, $1,000 today will only be worth $676 in purchasing power in 10 years. To find out your IRA status and explore the many IRA investment options, call the Financial Funds at 800-525-8085 and talk with one of our retirement plan representatives. That number again is 800-525-8085.
Of all the market action, today at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Portions of the following program are brought to you by The Prudential, where we won't let you get it until you've got it.
We make of the fact that the conventional wisdom
very, very unpopular in
everyone
You get a situation where the market upsets everyone.
Hello, I'm Liba Geft, delighted to have you join us for what promises to be a highly informative and perspicacious session on Shop Talk. The poetic lines of Alexander Pope are widely recognized. A little learning is a dangerous thing. Drink deep or taste not the Pyrean spring. Our erudite guests on Shop Talk are a fount of information, drawing deeply from a wealth of experience in the financial markets. FNN's own maven Ed Hart is with me in the Los Angeles studio, and we are joined in New York by Albert Singlinger of Singlinger & Company, 36-year veterans of consumer research for microeconomic forecasting. The company is based in Wallingford, Pennsylvania. Welcome, both of you gentlemen. I'm delighted to have you here. Mr. Singlinger, let me go to you directly in New York to begin. When you were last on the program a month ago, you found little reason to cheer what others were celebrating as a rebound in consumer confidence that would rescue the economy from recession. Do you have any reason to be more positive and optimistic at this stage?
No, I would say less reason now than I had a month ago. This recession is different than any recession we've ever had before. Because in prior recessions, the people that were first hurt were wage earners. Inventories would build, the wage earners would lose income, the recession would start, and then as we worked off inventories, the wage earner would get his job back. Now that was when we used to make what we consumed. And in past recessions, while the wage earner was mostly hurt, the salaried worker in those recessions was better off. They had guaranteed income, and you usually had what we call positive household money supply, and you had inflation down so that the money that the people earned was buying more. And now we have an entirely different situation. At the present time, we have about 9 states that I classify as in a depression, and 44 states that are in recession, and only 4 states, the Northwest states, that are not in recession. This is a worse situation as far as household money supply is concerned, and any time in the 36 years that we've been measuring household money supply.
You've supplied us with a graph of the Sindlinger household money supply. We'll put it up now and ask for your explanation. The yellow line represents stock owners when we get to the chart for explanation for our viewers. The green is all consumers, and the red line is non-stock owners.
Now,
Please explain.
if you see that chart, you'll see that our household money supply started to decline in October of '89. It's been declining all through '90. One of the problems the financial market has right now is that they are under the impression that the current recession was started by the war in the Gulf. The war in the Gulf made it worse. So the assumption is now that the war is over, the recession is over. Because this recession started a year and a half ago, if the government statistics on gross national product were correct, we are now talking in April, are in the 16th month of the current recession. The next chart I would like to show you is a chart that shows our current income. Current income has been declining ever since, as I said, October of 1989. With this current income, we have also a forecast confidence. The forecast confidence index rose about the time the war started because we have stock owners assuming that with the recession to be over soon, the economy is going to turn around. One of the complaints that the stock owner has about his current income is he's complaining that his current income is down because his dividends are down. But also we have about 79% of the population of the United States that are complaining that their current income is down now because their interest income is down. A year and a half ago, interest income was running about 20% year over year. Interest income now is about only 2% above last year. Now here you have a situation where the current income is declining, as you see on this chart. And the stock owners are assuming that lower interest rates are going to spur the economy. Now, lower interest rates would spur the economy if we were producing what we consume. But the inventories are not building up in this country. The inventories are building up overseas. So what we have now, we have the consumer in a money squeeze. This is something that's not happened, as I said, in the 36 years that we've been interviewing daily throughout the United States.
Thank you, Mr. Sindlinger. Let me ask Ed, at this stage of the game, we noticed that it was only that sector of the public owning stocks which showed an increase according to the Sindlinger charts. The stock market is supposed to be a precursor of, isn't it always darkest before the dawn?
Well, true, and although somebody once said everything is darkest just before everything turns black. But the supposition, the monetary theory of markets, which has worked approximately since the end of World War II in cycle after cycle, and some folks think it can go on working forever, is that when the Fed stops fighting inflation and pumps in the money, it goes to the markets first, to business second, and to inflation third. And they apparently take no account of the amount of debt that is built up, that assumption will go on forever, and the possibility that possibly the debt builds up to the point where you can't get it started again as easily. One of the things that is very interesting here in California, and California is a unique state, in that there is a widespread fear of not owning residential real estate because of the past cycles of residential real estate. In other words, it goes down or stops going up for a while. Actually, during the cycles, it never really went down. It just stopped going up. And the fear was that, hey, if I don't get it this time, and it's operating again now, some escrow offices are operating on overtime and having to call in temporaries. Partly this is refinancing because of the lower rates, and partly it's because of the fear not to own property. And the question is that just going to be a few people, a bit of pent-up demand that's going to be taken care of and be worked off, or is it going to last for a long time? One of the worries that as you read Mr. Singlinger's work that occurs is that maybe thousands and thousands and thousands of these yuppie jobs just aren't going to come back. The LBO jobs, the investment banking jobs, the partners at Salomon Brothers, where one says to the other, gee, if you think $1 million is good money, you must not have kids. I mean, there's always a possibility those times won't come back, and that's one of the disturbing implications of Mr. Singlinger's
rings
work.
home very true, Ed. I have to call for a break in the program, but we shall continue to discuss the health of the American consumer with Albert Sindlinger and Ed Hart as Shop Talk continues. Please stay with us.
The airline that spans 10 countries across Asia and the Pacific now brings you United's renowned international service nonstop to London's Heathrow Airport from 6 U.S. cities. Come fly the airline that's uniting the world. Come fly the friendly skies.
Calumet Farm in Kentucky has produced more legendary racehorses than any other stable. Whirlaway, Citation, Alidar. When excellence becomes a tradition, there's no end to the greatness. And it doesn't happen only in horse racing. Ford has set the pace in the auto industry from the outset. And with billions of dollars invested in models like our new Crown Victoria and Grand Marquis, we're going to stay out in front. Ford Motor Company.
There's no place like home. There's no place like home.
Just a reminder, a meter plain paper fax machine can get you anywhere in just seconds.
Place like home. There's no place like home.
For more information, call 1-800-ABC-METER.
Places, joyful faces, turquoise seas, naked knees, Bermuda, a short trip to the perfect holiday.
Welcome back to Shop Talk, where we're enjoying the sagacious comments of Albert Sindlinger of Sindlinger and Company and FNN's Maven Ed Hart. Mr. Sindlinger, would you like to follow up on some of the observations which Mr. Hart made before the break?
Yes, he took the words right out of my mouth. The major concern that I am observing is that we have not only lost jobs because we stopped producing what we make in the manufacturing sector, but we are now eliminating, and I figure in the next couple of years we'll have to eliminate at least 2 or 3 million service jobs that were never real jobs in the first place. In other words, we don't have jobs to come back to in this recovery. Now, we do have stock owners expecting their income to be up in the next 6 months because they think the recession is over. Also, as I said earlier, they're complaining about their income being down because interest rates are down. So we have this paradox of people with lower incomes because of lower interest rates, expecting lower interest rates to spur the economy for jobs that we're eliminating.
There is some expectation for increased income, if I'm looking correctly at the chart which you show us on your